back. It's Tone. I'm Rob. We are Sports Take. Let's hit the like button if we could, friends. Appreciate you hanging out with you on this Wednesday. All right, let's look at the Chiefs here. 7-2 record, Tone. Point spread in this game, and it's kind of moved a little bit. It is now Kansas City. It started off, the line was 2.5 initially, and now it is the Chiefs -3 over under 45.5 for Monday night's game. All right, so that's the point spread.
I mean, it's reasonable.
I it's kind of what I thought it would be, actually, so no surprise there. So the Chiefs offensively, you mentioned a little bit earlier, they're scoring 23 points per game. You know, the Eagles are scoring 5 more points per game than the Chiefs. Just by perspective here. That's 13th what the Chiefs are doing in the league. They're 19th in running the ball, 103.8. Not great either. Passing, all things considered, the weapons or lack thereof that Mahomes has, not bad. It's 264.9, which is 5th. Okay. Now here's where it gets really interesting for me. Defensively. Remember, the Chiefs weren't a great defensive team last year. They came on, but they weren't great. They're much improved.
Yeah.
Points per game, 15.9, second. So they're ahead of the Eagles, slightly ahead, or actually a good amount ahead. Against the run, they're 17th, 112.2. Against the pass, they're 5th. They're giving up 176 per game. They have a lot of sacks. Chris Jones is doing Chris Jones things. He's got 5.5. Mike Dana has 5.5. So you're getting 11 just out of those two. They have 31 total sacks on the season. This team gets after the quarterback, slightly more than the Eagles. But I think let's go back to the offensive part of this thing. 6 times this year, Tone, they scored 23 points or less. They scored 9 against Denver, 21 against Miami, 19 against Denver the other time they played them, 23 against the Jets, 17 against the Jags, and 20 versus the Lions. They have not been tearing it up the way that we're accustomed to, despite Mahomes' greatness on the offensive side.
Yeah, it's interesting. Most of those numbers come from AFC teams,
right?
And the highest amount they put up was against the Detroit Lions, which was an NFC team. It's fascinating. You know, the thing is, when they lack talent at the skill position. You know, outside of Travis Kelce, I mean, Sky Moore, they brought back McCole Hardman, didn't they?
Yes.
Who else do they have? They got this kid named
they have Rasheed Rice.
Rasheed Rice.
He's been their best receiver. 32 catches, 378, 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's coming on.
Their second leading receiver is Justin Watson, the kid out of Penn. He's got 14 catches for 276 yards. Like, you know, the Valdez Scantling, 14 catches, 249 and a touchdown. Like, none of those guys are really doing a ton.
Yeah, so this has to be a game where, although the quarterback is who he is, these DBs gotta take advantage of the opportunity that they have. You know, this should be a get right week for them. And again, this is not me trying to take away from the quarterback. But Patrick Mahomes is running the ball way more than he ever has in his career. He's on a career pace for rushing yards. Right now he has 42 carries, 258 yards rushing, and 258 yards rushing, 42 carries. So he's running the ball way more than he has in his entire career. I think the highest amount of rushing yards he's had in his career was 381. I wouldn't put it past him to eclipse that number this year. I think he will eclipse 400 yards rushing so far this season. I don't see why he wouldn't.
That makes sense. Look, I think if you look at it, the Eagles have had trouble in the middle of the field. Am I concerned about Kelce? Yes, I am. I'm concerned about Kelce. 57 catches, 597, 4 touchdowns. He hurt the Eagles. Remember in the game, he hurt the Eagles early in the Super Bowl. He had their first touchdown for Kansas City. I thought they buttoned him up a little bit, and then he started getting loose a little bit later, in that game. I don't know. I don't think they're going to be bringing Dorsey in as a consultant anytime soon, Young Truth. I just don't see that happening. He's the OC who got fired from Buffalo. But I'll catch on somewhere, but I don't think it'll be here necessarily. But
we're good.
Kelce's going to be a problem because the linebackers and Zach Cunningham's done a nice job for them, and Morrow's been fine. I don't want the linebackers on him. And so what does that mean? Who do you put on him? Do you put a Bradbury on who's got some size? Do you go with a corner on him? Do you go with the safety on him? Uh, he's a matchup problem anytime, but he is especially, I think, for a team like this.
Yeah, I'm not moving Bradbury. I want him to be as comfortable as possible.
Yeah.
So I'm not moving him. Obviously, I would never put Slay on him.
No.
The reality is the safeties are going to have to step their weight up. You know what I mean? They're going to have to find a way to bracket him with maybe a linebacker and a safety, or maybe the slot. You know what I mean? They're just going to have to find a way to bracket him and put him in situations where they need to make every target that Travis Kelce has. They need to make it the toughest throw Mahomes has to make.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Everyone else, hey, listen, one-on-one, you do your job. But other than that, when it comes to Kelce, you make his job as tough as you possibly can. Get physical with him at the line of scrimmage, which who knows if they even do that. But if he even considers throwing the ball to Kelce, make sure he has to think twice about it. That's how I look at it. So I think this has to be a big game for Kevin Byard and Reed Blankenship. They got to be on their P's and Q's against Kelce. And then Bradley Roby, man, he hasn't played in a few weeks. He has to be strong as well for them. So their quarterback is who he is. He's the baby goat of the NFL. You know what I mean? He's like, this isn't a cakewalk by any stretch of the imagination because of what he's capable of doing. And again, he's been running more. So I think it's going to be imperative for those safeties to remain disciplined and to try to limit the damage as much as they possibly can. And look, this Kansas City Chiefs team, they're not explosive. They're not beating you over the top. They want to nickel and dime you down the field. So you got to find a way to force them to make some mistakes, get some key third down stops, force them in some third and long situations if you possibly can. But best believe they're going to be throwing the ball. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Patrick Mahomes throws the ball 40+ times on Monday.
Oh, I agree with you. I mean, look, this is not a good pass defense. Andy Reid wants to throw. Andy Reid lives to throw. I mean, I have no doubt in my mind that that's what Andy Reid's going to do. He is going to attack them. It's not to say they'll mix in Pacheco because Pacheco had success against them in the Super Bowl. They'll mix him in if for some reason the Eagles' run defense isn't as stout as it used. Yeah, we know he's willing to do it if he has to do it. He did it in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but and they've been using him a lot in the passing game as well. Yep, they've been using him in the passing game more also. So, yeah, man, they've been doing everything they can to give Patrick Mahomes. They've been doing everything possible to generate some kind of offense outside of Travis Kelce. It hasn't been consistent, but again, it's something you have to pay attention to.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, the other part of it is there's the whole Andy Reid mystique, coming off the bye.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, man. When you look something like this up, you get a bunch of different stats on it. Right. But his safe to say his numbers are excellent coming off the bye, 27-4 coming off a bye. That's that includes regular season and postseason, et cetera. But he's I wonder what he's got in store, and the other part is he's got such a good defensive coordinator in Steve Spagnuolo, who is so adaptable. This guy's won 3 Super Bowls. Twice he's won twice with the Giants, and I think once with obviously the Chiefs last year. So it's not just
he's good at what he does. He's good at what he does.
He's one of those guys, man, and who's really meant to be a coordinator, and he's excellent at it. So you're going to be dealing with trying to counter this guy. So Mahomes this year, 2,442 passing yards, 17 touchdowns. He does have 8 picks. As much as we get on Jalen for the interceptions, Mahomes has 8. Mm-hmm. He's been sacked 12 times. Completion percentage is good, 68.6. Passer rating good, 96.7. So those things are there. And the thing is, we just know, like, this dude is so good off schedule. He's so good in every facet of this thing, with the short game, with the long game, the touch. He's not afraid to take off. He took off a bunch of times in the Super Bowl and hurt the Eagles, despite playing with the terribly bad ankle. So yeah, I mean, you're dealing with the best guy in the game. That's what you're
absolutely. Absolutely. I'm curious to know what the emotional temperature is for the Philadelphia Eagles, knowing how things ended up in that game, man. At least for me, I was asked, I think it was the other day by Sills. He said, which game is more important to me, the 49ers matchup or the Chiefs matchup? And my retort was, emotionally, the Chiefs matchup, but logically, the 49ers matchup.
Yeah.
Because the 49ers game has more implications over, in terms of our seeding and the NFC and all that kind of stuff. But the Chiefs matchup, I want that game. I want that game.
They took the trophy away from you, the ring.
Yeah. I want that game. I want that win for the simple fact that I need to know that we can beat them. I need to know that the Philadelphia Eagles can beat Patrick Mahomes. I need to know that Jalen Hurts can beat Patrick Mahomes, because so far in the Jalen Hurts era, the Eagles are 0-2 against the Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah. And both times, the common denominator hasn't really been great games by Patrick Mahomes. And when I say great games, I mean one of his bigger passing performances, right? The common denominator has been the run defense, the running game for the Chiefs. The Chiefs in the first matchup put up north of 250 rushing yards on the Philadelphia Eagles in 2021. In 2022, in the Super Bowl, they put up north of 150 rushing yards on the Philadelphia Eagles. So that's 2 seasons in a row where the Philadelphia Eagles have not been able to stop their running game, which has made life easier for Patrick Mahomes, keeping the Eagles off balance. This year, the Eagles have the #1 rushing defense in the NFL by a long shot, and teams are throwing the ball at a 70% clip against the Philadelphia Eagles. So you know how they're going to come in this game. They're going to try to get the running game involved. Don't get it twisted. They're going to try. But ultimately, they're going to throw that ball. So you limit the run game. You force them to become one-dimensional. I think that ups your chances. And on top of that, they're limited from the skill position. There's no better opportunity for the Philadelphia Eagles to beat the Chiefs other than the Super Bowl appearance, going forward, because I think it's going to be a rematch. Other than then, there's no better time to beat the Chiefs than now, because they're so one-dimensional right now. Because you have the #1 run defense. I know it seems counterintuitive going up against a guy like Patrick Mahomes. They're going to throw the ball, but when I think about why they lost those games previously, they couldn't stop the run. If they can stop the run like they normally do, and allow your defense to focus on one thing, stopping the pass, limiting their opportunities, trying to get them up the field on 3rd down, putting the ball, forcing Kansas City to put the ball in more turnover-worthy situations, I think the Philadelphia Eagles have a good chance of winning this game.
Yeah, look, I think so too. I think there's a couple things that have to happen. I'll give you the obvious. Don't turn it over, and that's been a big problem.
Yeah,
fumbled 3 times against Dallas. You got them all back. That's a miracle. That's a minor miracle. You can't turn the ball over, and you have to get Mahomes to the ground. Do I think if that turf was on the up and up that they would have gotten him at least 2 or 3 times? Yes, I do. So I think they'll get to him 2 or 3 times in this game. That's going to be huge. And man, can they start creating some turnovers?
Yeah, we need more. We need more.
Holy smokes, that's a huge problem here, man. With the secondary in particular. But I'll take anything: a strip sack, a deflected ball, whatever. Somebody make a play here and get a turnover.
Because guys are so wide damn open, they can't even make a play on the ball. You know what I mean? It's like the windows that some of these quarterbacks have been thrown through over the past several weeks has just been insane. So, I mean, they've had clutch interceptions, right? The Darius Slay pick 6 in week 1. The Darius Slay pick on
in
Tua,
Miami against Miami.
You had to seal the game. The Reed Blankenship interception. They've been timely, but we need more of them. We need more
volume. It's volume.
It's volume. Earlier in the season, they were forcing a lot of fumbles in like those first few weeks. Now it's like non-existent. They need more playmaking. They need more game breakers on that side of the ball. Again, maybe I'm being overly optimistic, but I really think this team needed this bye week. I think a guy like Kevin Byard needed more time to really settle in with this team, settle in with what he's been asked to do. I think they needed to get healthy on that side of the ball. I think this is the healthiest they've been all year. There's no better opportunity for them to prove that they're back on track by limiting a guy like Patrick Mahomes. There's no better time to prove it.
Question for you, Eagles offensively.
Okay.
Will they look to establish the run more? Kansas City is 17th in the league against the run. The Eagles haven't run the ball particularly well, like we talked about lately. They were running it better earlier in the year. It's not a priority thing for them. They are a pass to get a lead, run to milk the lead kind of team. That said, do you think they will look to run the ball a little bit more or establish the run early?
I think they will. I think the reality is, think about that Cowboys matchup.
Yep.
They ran the ball. They ran the ball, I want to say 33 times. Let me make sure I got that number right. They ran the ball a grand total of, excuse me, sorry about this. They ran the ball a grand total of 33 times for 109 yards. Not spectacular. Averaged only 3.3 yards per carry, but they had 2 touchdowns off of it. But they stuck with it. And Jalen Hurts threw the ball 23 times. So if you take away Jalen Hurts' rushing attempts, which he had 10 on that game, the Eagles ran the ball 23 times. So they were an extremely balanced attack with their passing and running the ball with their quarterback. Even more so if you include Jalen Hurts' rushing attempts. So they were extremely balanced in their attack. If you really think about it, you can clearly tell they went into that game saying, we're not going to overthink this. We're going to try to be as physical as we can with this team. We're not going to turn this game into a shootout. We're going to try to keep this game under 30 points, and we're going to force Dallas to try to make plays and beat us. And the Eagles, they stayed disciplined. I think out of all the games they played, I think that Dallas game was their most disciplined performance in terms of play calling, in terms of run pass balance. It's and a game like that, it's so easy to lose your discipline because of the emotions, right? And we saw them lose discipline in the fourth quarter from a defensive perspective, but just from a play calling perspective, they were very disciplined for 3 straight quarters. Things got a little wonky on offense in the fourth, but overall, very disciplined play calling attack. I think they have to maintain that discipline, in this Chiefs matchup and not get enamored with trying to compete with Patrick Mahomes. So far, so good. We'll see how this thing pans out.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is too, like, you have to you want to use the Super Bowl loss as motivation. Obviously, that's a chip, that's fuel. You're pissed off about that. You should be. I hope so. You can't there's a line there where you don't want to get too caught up in the revenge thing. Oh, we would have stick it to them. We lost the Super Bowl. You get yourself in trouble doing things that way too. You can play dumb football doing things that way too. You got to make sure that it's the objective is to win the game, not just beat the Chiefs. If that makes any sense. I think that's
it makes a lot of sense.
That's one of the things you have to watch here for them. But then, the flip side of this, Tone, is I know the Chiefs defense has improved, but who's stopping AJ Brown? I don't think anybody can stop AJ Brown. And I'm not saying they have bad corners. Their corners are actually young and good, but nobody's stopping AJ Brown. I think Devontae is ready to roll. Devontae had 7 catches for 100 yards against them in the Super Bowl. He played very well against them in the Super Bowl.
Their corners are playing very well. Don't get it twisted. But I don't think their corners match up well with AJ Brown from a size perspective. I just don't think they match up well at all. Maybe more so with Devontae, but again, AJ and Devontae proved that they can put up numbers on on these corners, on these guys. Now they're better, obviously. They're more developed, obviously. Don't want to take anything away from the work they put in over the offseason up until now. But AJ Brown is better. I think Devontae Smith, despite what the numbers may tell you, I think he's a better receiver as well. He had that one bad Jets game, but everyone's entitled to a bad game. First bad game in 3 seasons. Like, come on. So, I think the Eagles do have the edge, like, in some respects. I'm not going to just make anything up about it. I really feel like although their defense has been playing better, this is a week-to-week league. Matchups matter. And we're going to see if the Philadelphia Eagles can kind of keep pace, as they have all season. They're a productive team. I think they're averaging 28 points at home, 28 points overall, like 30 points at home, 25 or 26 on the road.
Yep.
So they can still put up points on the road. It's about being opportunistic. It's about getting the key stops. Yep. That's what it's going to come down to.
Yep. And look, Kansas City's tough at home. Their lone loss at home was without Travis Kelce and Chris Jones. So put it in perspective. It was Detroit, but that was and they only lost that 21-20. So they're good at home. But look at who they beat. Chicago. Terrible, right? Denver at that point was horrendous. They've improved a lot. Credit to Denver. The Chargers. Nothing, not all that big a deal. Now they're credited with a home win against Miami, but that game was played in London.
Yeah, that was a neutral site game, right?
So really, is there a quality win mixed in there at home? Not really, as far as I'm concerned.
No, I mean, no, like you're not saying anything wrong at all. The reality is, despite their schedule, we always have to respect the champ. The
Oh, for
champ,
sure,
and I'm not even implying that's not what you were doing.
Yeah.
The reality is, although their schedules are scheduled, they've shown regardless of who they play, they're going to show up. So we got to go in there respecting the champ and not looking at their schedule and saying, oh, they did that against them, or oh, they barely beat this team, or who did they play?
Right.
I reserve those arguments for teams like Dallas and Detroit. You know what I mean? But the Chiefs, you got Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. It doesn't matter who you play.
Yeah,
you better bring you better bring your A game.
You know my line. They're like a villain in a horror movie. Until they're dead, it ain't over. All of a sudden they pop back up and they're still chasing you, man. And that's Mahomes. Think about it. You were up 10 at the half. I don't want to go back into this and open up the wounds, but you were up 10 at the half when it should have been more, actually. But anyway, you're up 10 at the half, and look what he did, man. And so you never count that guy out. That's for sure. But I want to just go back to this one more time.
Mm-hmm.
The Eagles get accused a lot, and again, a lot of times I think by their own, of no quality wins. I would look at it in terms of quality wins for Kansas City. Certainly beating Miami is a quality win, no doubt.
But we beat them too. So
right, Eagles beat Miami as well. But beyond that, again, when they beat Minnesota was a mess. This is before Minnesota got their act together. They beat Denver early when Denver was terrible. Since then, Denver's played well, and Denver beat them once. They beat Jacksonville early. Jacksonville got on a run. All I'm saying is, like, they don't have a ton of quality wins under their belt either. So what Kansas City has after the Eagles.
I hear you for sure.
Yeah, just for perspective, they're at the Raiders, at Green Bay, Buffalo home, at New England. Man, they have a cakewalk. At the Raiders, Raiders home Cincinnati, at the Chargers. Like, there might be one loss in there, Tone. They're going to be the number 1 seed in the AFC again. They are. Because their schedule for a team that won the Super Bowl is nowhere near as tough as the Eagles.
No, you're not wrong at all. The Philadelphia Eagles, they definitely have some more legwork to do. Chiefs, Bills, a team that's literally mediocre at this point, but still you got to respect them because of the quarterback position.
Yep.
Then you have 49ers, a very, very, very tough matchup. I don't know how the Chiefs got away with not playing them this year. But got 49ers, then Cowboys on the road, Seahawks on the road. Going to be tough, man. Going to be real tough. And I think the Eagles can do so. I'm still not buying the Cowboys. I'm still not buying the Seahawks fully. I'm only paying attention to Detroit because they have an easy schedule as well, and they're the immediate threat to the number 1 seed for the Philadelphia Eagles.
I agree. Like I gave you the Chiefs because that's who they're playing. I'm with you. Like, I don't spend a lot of time worrying about the AFC. Like, that'll all take care of itself. And then if the Eagles get to the Super Bowl, I'll worry about it then. I really, the NFC is my focus, man. And I'm heavily focused on the Niners and the Cowboys and the Lions. And then everything else kind of falls, backwards after that.
Yeah. And also to your point earlier, this is going to be the toughest game for both of these teams, right? Chiefs and Eagles. This is going to be their toughest opponent. Both of these teams are at the top of the mountain in their respective conferences. Both of these teams have taken care of business against who they were supposed to beat for the most part. Neither of these teams have really looked like world beaters over the past several weeks,
right?
But they still are who they are, and they're still teams who find ways to win. That's the thing about both of these teams. Above all else, they find ways to win. They find ways to limit the damage, and they just find ways to get it done. And once again, they're two of the best teams. They're the two best and most consistent teams in their conference. They both deserve respect for that. Again, both of these teams, this is going to be their hardest matchup thus far of the season.
I agree 100%. I mean, I think when you're dealing with, anytime you're dealing with Andy Reid, anytime you're dealing with Mahomes, especially because they have a history, against you, and they've played extremely well. Eagles fan is right. McDuffie is a top 10 corner in the league. Yeah, he's really developed. they've done a good job developing young players over there on the defensive side. They really have.
Yeah, and he's a small guy too, but he plays big.
Yep.
Gotta respect that.
Yeah, no, there's no question. I mean, so they're credit to them for getting better. I mean, they won a Super Bowl last year with a really young cast on the defensive side. And that, that again, the Eagles should have won that Super Bowl. They should have won the Super Bowl.
I know it burns. It burns.
Not that I'm
burns,
bitter,
man.
Not that I'm bitter at all. All right. So here's what we have coming up. Next, we're going to dive into some Sixers. They had their 8-game winning streak snap Tone last night to the Pacers. They have a big one tonight on a back-to-back against the Celtics. So that's one of the things we're going to do. Deshaun Watson, major injury, major ripple effect and impact on the NFL and the AFC in particular on this one.
Yep, and the AFC North.
Oh, yeah, on the AFC North, which is arguably the toughest division in football. And you got a little fun segment, which we're going to hit in the last one, which I'm looking forward to, man. You want to give us a tease? Just give us a taste. Not who's involved, just what it is. What are we going to be doing?
Eagles fans, you guys know the old adage or the old game we used to play, start, bench, cut. You know how it goes.
That's one version of that game.
That's one version of that game. That's the clean cut sports
PG.
version.
It's PG. Yeah.
But when you was with the homies.
Yes.
And things were a little vulgar. you know how it used to go. So but in this respect, we're playing start, bench, cut.
Okay.
Start,
I like it.
Bench, cut later on. So I have about 8 sets of players that we can play around with you guys. And also maybe you guys can throw in some examples as well that we can potentially use later on, right? Okay. Give me 3 players. For our last segment. Hold on to them though. Don't post them yet because I don't want to lose them in the live chat. Just think of some guys, and then make sure you have them ready for that last segment for start, bench, cut. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll be doing that at 1:30, just so you can get ready to have your responses then. All right. So a lot to do. Let's hit it. We'll come back and we will talk a little Sixers. That's Tone. I'm Rob. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. All right. Let me tell you about Pro Action Restoration. Yes, I actually have the guys coming out as soon as we're done the show today to take a look at the bathroom and the ceiling in my basement, which got damaged due to a water leak that came down from my bathroom upstairs into my basement area. Got all kinds of stuff going on here. So the guys will be out a little bit later today to start work, get an estimate, do some other stuff. And they've already been out helping me with dry things out and all that kind of stuff. But if you have a home, you have a business, and you go through the pain, the inconvenience of smoke or mold damage to your property, fire, water, you name it, they can handle it. Pro Action Restoration is on call 24 hours, 7 days a week to assist. They're also licensed, bonded, and fully insured, and they've been serving the tri-state area for more than 2 decades. Pro Action Restoration will work in conjunction with your insurance company. They are working in conjunction with mine as we speak. Again, water, fire, smoke damage, mold remediation, you name it. Or if it's something else that you're not sure about how to go about cleaning it up, or you can handle it, or you just don't have the time, whatever, give them a call, 610-623-3760, 610-623-3760, or online at proactionrestoration.com. That's proactionrestoration.com.